Hey, everybody. What's up? What a beautiful time to be alive. It's happening. I don't know. I'm just saying catchphrases. Welcome to Momentous Clarity. Moment of Clarity. Thanks for being here. Please take a second to share this. Let folks know. Click the thumbs up. Do all that good stuff. I got a guest coming on a bit later, an amazing comedian. You're going to love him if you don't already know him, Rick Overton. He has a new comedy special out, old friend of mine. Also has done excellent political comedy over the years. But before that, let's get into the latest developments. Hold on, going live on Rockfin. You should also join that page as well, rockfin.com/Lee Camp. That helps the algorithm and everything over on Rockfin if you join, even if that's not where you're watching it. By the way, all the donations in the super chat, all the donations on Rockfin, they all go to people who are struggling. It's our own little community solidarity fund. We help out each other who are struggling. And you can find out more by emailing commoncensored@protonmail.com. And if you're not watching this live, you can also donate on Venmo at Lee Camp. Okay, but before I bring on Rick Overton in a bit, let's get into what has happened, what has come down in the Julian Assange case and what's going on with Assange. Many of you know that he's been, essentially tortured via solitary confinement in prison for years now, over 2 years in Belmarsh prison, 7 years in the Ecuadorian embassy, trying to avoid extradition to the United States, where he faces 175 years for telling us the truth. 175 years for actually breaking the fucking corporate media's stranglehold on truth, while they do stenography for the State Department, spitting out every garbage propaganda bullshit, fucking rotting carcass of infectious disease-ridden crap that the government wants you to believe. While they do that, Julian Assange, for telling us the truth, is facing 175 years if he gets extradited to the United States. And they figured their next best thing, if they can't do that, is to just keep him locked up in Belmarsh in Britain, because at least then they figure, well, he's suffering, so at least we're setting an example. So as most of you know, the trial is over, but the Biden administration is appealing it because Biden is a sociopathic, warmongering piece of shit, and as was Trump. And they are continuing to do the thing that Trump did, which was prosecute Assange. Now they're appealing it. Basically, what the British court said is that they believed everything that was presented against Assange, every crime that was given against Assange by the U.S. Department of Justice. They believed. They said, yep, all true. What a horrible human being. We're only not extraditing him because of how horrific U.S. prisons are, and he might take his life. That is the only reason. So they believed all of this stuff. Now, a lot of it, well, basically all of it, for all of it that can fall apart has fallen apart. So one of the last remaining little fucking balsa wood twigs that the Department of Justice's case against Assange had was this key witness. Everything else they brought up has been debunked. I mean, initially it was the rape allegations, which were not really rape allegations. Both women have said they were pressured to say things against Assange. All they really wanted was an HIV test. All of that has fallen apart. The Swedish government had an investigation, never brought charges, never had any reason to bring charges, never could prove that anything had been done forcefully or without consent against these women. And wanted to drop the case, and leaked emails show that they were pressured into keeping the allegations going. There were no charges, by the way, ever. And ultimately, so that all fell apart. The thing about, him pressuring, they tried to say he pressured Chelsea Manning to give him to give Assange the data on the U.S. military, the Iraq war logs, etc. She has always maintained that he did not. that he didn't do anything that was illegal. So that fell apart. And so one of the things they had left was this eyewitness, which I'll now be getting into the details about. And this is from an article that just came out. A major witness in the U.S. Department of Justice case against Julian Assange has admitted to fabricating key accusations in the indictment against the WikiLeaks founder. The witness, who has a documented history with sociopathy and has received several convictions for sexual abuse of minors and wide-ranging financial fraud. This sounds like the FBI's kind of guy, doesn't it? Doesn't it sound like the FBI, CIA, U.S. government, Department of Justice? They'd be like, that's our guy. We like, yeah, that's the that guy sounds great. You said sociopath with a history of sex crimes. That's our guy. Besides the fact that it just sounds like it'd make a good case, we just want to spend some time with him, really. We just want to, hang out. He sounds like a good guy. Sounds like he might have some advice for us on all the stuff we're involved in. So, yeah. Wide-ranging fraud? Oh, my God. I mean, you had me at sex crimes, but wide-ranging fraud? Come on. We got to hang out with this guy. He sounds awesome. So the witness, who has documented history, blah, 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 I just read that part, abuse of minors, wide-ranging financial fraud, made the admission that he had lied in a newly published interview in Stunden, which is the outlet that is also writing this article, where he also confessed to having continued his crime spree whilst working with the DOJ and FBI and receiving a promise of immunity from prosecution. That's right. He's continued his crimes while he's supposed to be a eyewitness against Assange. He's still committing crimes. And you'd think at some point the FBI or someone might be like, hey, could you just hold off for 10 minutes with your crimes so that we could pretend you're a legitimate witness? Because that would just be totally awesome. If you could just just a few minutes, just stop with all the fraud and the lying and the shit. I mean, we want you to lie for us. So hold on, let me rephrase that. Don't stop lying fully. Just keep doing our lies. We need you to lie about Assange. But just stop the other stuff. Just put that on hold, back burner time while you lie for us. The man in question, Sigurdur Torderson, who goes by Siggy, or at least people have been calling him Siggy. Torderson, I think I have that right. It's Icelandic. It doesn't, pronouncing Icelandic wrong doesn't really count as wrong. Because don't put... Folks, if you want us to pronounce anything correctly, don't put that many consonants in a row. Don't stick 3 extra Ks in there. That's your own fault. At that point, your own fault, So Siggy was recruited by U.S. authorities to build a case against Assange after misleading them to believe he was previously a close associate of his. So he misled the FBI and the DOJ. And then they kept being like, well, he's all we got, so let's just keep using him, even though he was lying to us about being really important in the WikiLeaks organization. To continue from the article, in fact, he had volunteered on a limited basis to raise money for WikiLeaks in 2010, but was found to have used that opportunity to embezzle more than 50 grand from WikiLeaks. So this guy's a straight up criminal, even against WikiLeaks. Not just since WikiLeaks, but while he was in WikiLeaks. And the FBI was like, yeah, that's our guy. That guy's awesome. U.S. officials presented an updated version of an indictment against him to a magistrate court in London last summer. The veracity of the information contained therein is now directly contradicted by the main witness whose testimony it is based on. The court documents purport to show that Assange instructed Thordarson to commit computer intrusions or hacking in Iceland. So that was their big thing. That was one of the big things that the DOJ said against Assange. Yes, you told this guy to hack for you in Iceland. They were like, even if all of our other shit falls apart, even if all the Chelsea Manning shit falls apart, we still got this. You told so-and-so to hack Icelandic banks, etc. in Iceland. Boom, we got him. And it's all based on this fucking known criminal, known sociopath, known sex criminal. The aim of this addition to the indictment was apparently to shore up and support the conspiracy charge against Assange in relation to his interactions with Chelsea Manning. Those occurred around the same time. He resided in Iceland, and the authors of the indictment felt they could strengthen their case by alleging he was involved in illegal activity there as well. Not just strengthen their case, they had no case. They fucking had no case. So this was it. This was what they could use. The fucking Sweden thing fell apart because there was nothing there. The Chelsea Manning stuff fell apart because there was nothing there. Chelsea Manning made her own choice to leak that stuff. It was not Assange. This activity was said to include attempts to hack. This is what he was accused of. Attempts to hack into computers of members of parliament in Iceland and record their conversations. Thordarson now admits that Assange never asked him to hack or access phone recordings of the members of parliament. His new claim is that he had in fact received some files from a third party who claimed to have recorded MPs and had offered to share them with Assange without having any idea what they actually contained. He claims he never checked the contents of the files or even if they contained audio recordings, as his third-party source suggested. He further admits the claim that Assange had instructed or asked him to access computers in order to find any such recordings is false. On every step of some sort of crime against Assange, it's all false. And even if you were to fucking believe this guy up till now, which why would you? This is a fucking known criminal, sociopath, and continues to commit crimes. And by working with the DOJ, the FBI, he was able to get leniency on other crimes. So you shouldn't have believed him up till now. No one should have. But now he's also admitted that he lied. Nonetheless, the tactics employed by U.S. officials appear to have been successful, as can be gleaned from the ruling of the magistrate judge Vanessa Barrister on January 4th of this year. She was the one who decided not to extradite Assange based on the fact that U.S. prisons are so horrible, which this is about to say. Although she ruled against extradition, she did so purely on humanitarian grounds. With regards to the actual accusations made in the indictment, Barrister sided with the arguments of the American legal team. And by the way, keep in mind, Assange was kept in a fucking glass cage during the entire trial, barely allowed to speak to his lawyers, barely allowed to prepare a defense, not given like internet access, not even allowed to see most of the charges against him until like a week before or days before. I think a week was too much. I think it was days before. I mean, it was the biggest fucking kangaroo bullshit court you could imagine. And on top of that, this motherfucking Siggy dude was also lying. More deceptive language emerges in the aforementioned judgment where it states, this is the judgment against Assange by Barrister. It states, quote, Assange used the unauthorized access given to him by a source to access a government website of NATO country 1, which means Iceland, used to track police vehicles, unquote. This depiction leaves out an important element, one that Thordarson clarifies in his interview with Stunden. The login information was in fact his own and not obtained through nefarious means. In fact, he now admits he had been given this access as a matter of routine due to his work as a first responder, which wouldn't you love to have that guy as your first responder? Hey, aren't you the sex criminal that was running a financial fraud on my mother? Yeah, that's me. So anyway, lay down, sir. I'm gonna do some CPR here on you. I don't think I need CPR. It's actually my arm. Just lay down, sir. Lay down. So yeah, yet again, this is another lie to catch Assange. They say it claimed Assange hacked into these things, but in fact, this was access given to Thordarson because he was a first responder. Furthermore, another name I can't pronounce, Ögmundur Jónasson, was Minister of the Interior at the time, and as such, the political head of police and prosecution, and says of the U.S. activities, they were trying to use things here in Iceland and use people in our country to spin a web that would catch Julian Assange. So Icelandic authorities have admitted and realized that the FBI and the DOJ were trying to entrap Assange in some sort of crime, despite the fact that Assange was not committing crimes. So they're trying to find a way to accuse him of something, anything. Siggy had been nicknamed Siggy the hacker in Iceland. That is actually an antonym or a name making fun of him, as several sources have claimed that Thordarson's computer ability is menial, meaning he was called a hacker as like a joke. This is supported by several chat logs and documents where he is requesting assistance from others doing rather uncomplicated computer jobs. Once he even sought an FBI expert help him in uploading a video from his own phone, meaning this guy knew nothing about hacking and yet claims that he was working with Assange on hacking in to like, members of parliament's fucking private emails and shit. And yet he clearly doesn't know hacking. According to a psychiatric assessment presented to the court, Thordarson was diagnosed as a sociopath, incapable of remorse, but still criminally culpable for his actions. He was assessed to be able to understand the basic difference between right and wrong. He just didn't seem to care, which yet again, perfect ally for the U.S. government. The U.S. government was like, oh, this guy doesn't give a shit about right or wrong. He's a sociopath. All right, we can work with that. Listen, sometimes there's a long, get to know you process with these witnesses and, informants. But this one sounds like we're going to hit it off real quick. We are just best buds first phone call hit the ground running. He's a sociopath already. We got something to talk about. Already we got an icebreaker there, right? FBI, we're with the FBI. You're a sociopath. So are we, right there. Right. It's kind of like, what? Your, brother went to University of Virginia. So did mine. It's like it's like that with the FBI. When they get to talk to a sociopath on the phone, they're like, you're a sociopath too? All right. And just going, best buds right from the get-go. All right. I'm almost to the end here. It is as if the offer of immunity later secured and sealed in a meeting in D.C. that Thordarson has gotten, that Siggy has gotten. It's almost as if the offer of immunity had encouraged him to take bolder steps in crime. He started to fleece individuals and companies on a grander scale than ever, usually by either acquiring or forming legal entities he then used to borrow merchandise, rent luxury cars, even order large quantities of goods from wholesalers without any intention to pay for these goods and services. So this guy's he's got his crime spree on lock, just fucking driving around in cars he doesn't know and grabbing shit it's not his, not paying for shit. He's just got his crime game on lock. And meanwhile, this is the key witness against Julian Assange. Even if you wanted to believe the bullshit against Assange, does that not make you pause and go, this doesn't sound like a real, solid witness? When confronted with the evidence of all these crimes by a journalist, he simply admitted to everything and explained it away as normal business practice, all the fraud he's committing. He has not yet been charged and is still practicing this normal business practice of stealing lots of shit. Local newspaper DV reported last week that he had attempted to order other merchandise on credit using a company name, which was Icelandic Vermin Control. Kind of ironic there, too. Was he planning on going after the FBI? Because we could use the Icelandic Vermin Control on them. But despite using a fake name and a COVID mask to cover his identity, he was identified and the transaction was stopped. He was last seen speeding away in a white Tesla, which likely he does not own. So that's the key witness left against Julian Assange. And it's just all collapsed. And finally, I want to show you, this is a tweet from Niels Meltzer, the formerly with the UN, or maybe currently with the UN, I can't remember. But let's see, can you see that? Dismantling the persecution of Assange. 2019, UK torture and arbitrariness exposed. 2019, Swedish rape allegations collapsed. They actually collapsed earlier, but they collapsed again in 2019. 2020, embassy surveillance exposed. There was a huge scandal where it came out that they were surveilling everything that Assange did in the Ecuadorian embassy. 2021, U.S. prisons declared inhumane. 2021, U.S. hacking allegations collapse. Time to end this travesty. So that's from Niels Meltzer, who is the UN Special Rapporteur on Torture, Human Rights Chair, Geneva Academy, Professor of International Law, University of Glasgow, Vice President of IIHL. So, yeah. He knows what he's talking about. So that's where the case, so-called case against Assange stands. It's fucking non-existent. And yet they continue to torture him in Belmarsh prison. It's insane. And here's the thing. You shouldn't just be furious at fucking Britain for keeping him in prison. You should be furious at Joe Biden and the Biden administration who have appealed this to try and can keep him in Belmarsh prison, to try and extradite him and give him 175 years in the United States. You should be furious at our mainstream media for not fucking standing up and talking about this and demanding his freedom. I mean, our mainstream media, every one of them, you could just point to and say, you are a sack of shit because you have never stood up for Julian Assange, who has the same goddamn job that you supposedly have. But the truth is, they don't have the same job, right? Julian Assange was in the business of actually telling people the truth. Our corporate media is in the business of lying to you and doing whatever is necessary to give the oligarchy, the ruling elites, viewpoint on the world, prop up the American empire. And so they're in two different businesses. But ostensibly, same business. You should probably be upset that this guy's in fucking prison. But they're not, because they're complete ass clowns. And it's about time people stopped listening to a word they said. All right. Now I would like to move on to my special guest. And by the way, all the donations in the super chat, they all go to people who are struggling. A little solidarity fund to help out people. Same on Rockfin, same on Venmo at Lee Camp. And yeah, so please donate a couple of dollars if you feel like you can. So special guest for today, old great friend of mine. It's a privilege to have him on. He has a new comedy special out. And so I figured, and it's a very unique comedy special. So I figured, good time to chat about that. Please welcome Rick Overton. Rick.
Thanks for having me on, Lee.
Yeah, no problem.
Man. Thank you.
How you been?
By the way, we haven't been talking about Torgersson's pop career over there. He goes by a different name, Bjork.
Yes, yeah, he's also known as Bjork. Yeah, but very few people know that.
Yeah, he tried Bjork, but because he's a thief, he tried to steal it, so he just switched the letters. Yeah, thanks for pitching the special. I'm pretty excited about this. It's based on a game called Setlist, where you're standing there on stage and they project suggestions to you that you've never thought of, and you have to go in cold and craft a new set in front of everybody. And so why not do an entire hour?
Well, it's incredible. It's an incredible feat. It's incredibly difficult. I've done it a few times, not an hour. I've done about 10 minutes here and there. It's a lot of fun, but it is also kind of terrifying because a lot of people don't realize that stand-up comedy is usually based on, you'll have some ad libs in there, but it's usually based on honing certain bits, honing certain ideas over, several presentations at the least. Some comedians have been doing the same jokes for fucking 10 years, but Setlist, that you don't know what you're getting, and you just look on a screen and it's some random word combination.
Yeah, he doesn't give you a normal. It's not dating and airline food or anything like that. Like he gave me instead of accounting, he gave me a clownting. So it's like Liars Club, where you get this
free range concentration camp.
Yeah, right. and I won't give away the punchlines, but what they did was they get a long list of these things, and what I try to do is I try to set it up so I'm already walking into one very distinct setup, and it could be completely wrong, and I may have dug myself the deepest imaginable ditch, and then pushed the Sisyphusian rock back up that hill. I like to put myself in a deeper channel. So whatever I turn around and look at, oh my God, that was not where I was headed at all. And I think it's a part of me that likes the adrenaline of that, you know?
Yeah. It is like bungee jumping or something. You've been doing stand up for many years. Why shift to kind of improvised stand up for this special?
Because it should be fun for me. It's the first time I'm hearing any of this too.
Yeah.
And so why don't we all have a good time at this point, you know? And also trust that you originally crafted and wrote your original act with. It's just using that at a higher speed. It's the same thing that wrote your original jokes. You're writing it at first. So this sort of takes out some of the writing and memorization part. And a lot of times you'll come off a set list. Did you remember everything you ever did in a set list?
No.
Right. Me neither. I got to look at a tape. So there's all these ones I did for Troy where no one recorded. And like, I was getting big laughs. But you know what? Some of it can be kept and reused again. Some of it was meant for that moment. Just like any improv, I think.
Yeah, it was created by your friend of mine, Troy Conrad, and then also produced by Paul Provenza, a good friend of ours. They do amazing stuff, and over the years, they've had every big name in stand-up comedy has done set list at one time or another.
Yeah, it's bragging rights. You play game, you dove,
but
dive.
I think you're the first though to do the hour. So the hour is I watched it on YouTube, but it's also on like Amazon and stuff, right?
Right, and on comedydynamics.com, and you can get all the list of all the different places to get it. And so hopefully this will promote the idea of it, and we can make room for more, because it's the kind of special that you don't need another year to craft. I can shoot these night after night.
That's true. What's it been like in the pandemic? Was this filmed after? Like, was this filmed during? After? When was it filmed?
Before 2019.
Okay, before.
Yeah, it was 2019. We were shooting, and you'll see. I even say so in the special. And just got into the lineup. It took some time to edit and cut around to the right angles of things and all that, you know. And then it goes into the roster. And here we are.
Yeah,
blinded.
Very cool. What have you since the pandemic began? Have you found any chances to get back on stage? I know I haven't been able to really tour at all. I think we don't have a live audience for Redacted tonight still to this day, and so I haven't been back yet.
Well, I've done comedy, but I kind of been turning into a zombie. No longer expecting laughs. Just do the joke. 2, 3, 4. Next joke. No response time anymore. There's no alternator belt running to the engine and back again. It's good to see a crowd. Like I did a couple of outdoor shows with the tiki lamps to keep them warm while they're, watching your act outside. And I suppose those will be now that we're going back indoors. So we'll see. I don't know what the business is going to be like, but I bet it's going to pick up. It's got to. Can't get rid of comedy. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't get rid of comedy.
No, you can't.
It's like with life. It finds a way.
I know it's been my savior through these crazy times. Absolutely. Have you found that when you're writing comedy, is it easier the crazier shit gets? Is it easier now or harder than the 80s and 90s?
I guess it depends because life keeps running neck and neck with the comic extrapolation that's supposed to be the heighten and explore part. That's supposed to be, no, my stamp on it is I took it to this weird cartoonish exponent to make the point. And then life goes, aha, hold my beer, see you and raise you, bang. So, you know, it's like the jokes are on one level, the jokes are jumping into the boat like fish. And on the other level, they're also attacking and eating the boat. So, I think it's going to be a different game than it was before. And you won't see the same income. Lots of things income-wise are going to be readjusted, I think. Don't you? You kind of
Yeah,
new media,
yeah.
the scale will be different for new media. Lots of things are changing that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Although, maybe there will be even more of a hunger for live performance because people have realized how important it is to them. I think we had gotten so used to, accustomed to like, oh yeah, I could go to a comedy show, but I could just watch it on a screen. And then people have started to realize that maybe they liked community. Maybe they liked going out and seeing people.
The pub is short for public meeting. That's it for. And we forgot that, go out, get out of the house and see somebody. You can't just see the people in your house. There's been more divorces this year just because of compression.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, it's great. You can both work from home. There's no time away at all. It's like, it sounds like fun at first. Like being in a space capsule with a monkey. It's fun at first.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's how some people would define their marriage, as a space capsule with a monkey.
That's right. I'm not sure who's who.
I always loved I've always loved your stand-up. I've always loved your cultural commentary. I think is some of the best out there. When obviously the set list is its own thing, its own world. But even when you were doing your stand-up sets that aren't set list, what percent? It felt like you'd do maybe 75% ideas you were working on, but a lot of it was still ad-libbed. You just kind of had a jumping off point that you had prepped.
Yeah, always. Well, I try to always leave a little room, and especially if the idea isn't fully formed, but see if they can't help me bring it home, and I have a part of me that goes into a gallop once they start laughing at the idea enough that I think it sort of guides the pony home. I can get it the rest of the way with a little bit of play from them, but it does require that reciprocal belt, that thing you don't get with a Zoom.
Yeah.
The thing you get with a crowd, you hit your sternum. Their sound hits you in the sternum. If you got the laugh, it hits you, it vibrates your skeleton a little bit. And there's just nothing like it. And that's the original thing that addicted us to all of this, was that sensation. Get that laugh. That laugh is like, it's a whole body feeling.
It's true. It's a beautiful thing that we've unfortunately lost in this pandemic, is laughing in a big group of people, big room of people all laughing together. It's a sad thing to not have.
I'm grateful for Zoom for lots of things. Like for this, Zoom is perfect for this. I'm on the other side of Earth, and here we are having a great check. But when I think I'm doing a set, I want to hear the crowd. Now, sometimes they'll show the Hollywood squares of people sort of laughing at home, but they have to go on mute because the dog and the kids and ha ha ha, shut up,
It's like calling your mother.
Yeah. Yeah, calling grandpa. Yeah, is this the video thing here? Is that it? Like, remember Albert Brooks calling his mother and mother? Is it Albert? Is
that? Yeah, exactly. I've always loved your acting. Have you been filming much or have anything coming up?
Just the special. It's right now. It's just the special. Like everything else we shot. The most recent thing I was, I did in the NCIS. and then before that I was on I'm Dying Up Here on Showtime.
Right.
Which I thought was a great show for lots of comedians got to show that, hey, we are actors too. They're really good at lots of fine acting work from comedians on that series. I was very grateful for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Rick, I want everyone to
thank you for the commentary that you were doing. You're getting light this way, man. You're cutting into stories like nobody else right now, like Jimmy and you. And I and the Dive are tearing into it. And now hopefully Crystal Sagar will be able to have permission to dive back in again, but you guys are
thank you.
Mighty small cadre. You're the rebel forces, and you're really, and I guess are we all on a list now? Did we make the list? Gosh, did we make the special list that they're breaking out? So
as Chris Hedges,
am I a DV and LL? What am I? SBC?
As Chris Hedges told me, you're already on all those lists.
Oh, gee, I would certainly hope so. You got to know somebody, right? You got to know someone who knows someone, right? So, do I get in the club?
Do I get in the club where I get the anal probe? That's what I'm hoping for.
Yes, this is the club we use as the anal probe.
Rick, I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough for taking the time, and I want everybody to check out your fully improvised comedy special. It's called Rick Overton's Set List. And excellent work. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Lee. Great to talk to you again. Thank you.
Great to talk to you. Keep at it.
Yeah, it's a deal. You too, brother.
All right, guys. That was Rick Overton. Always a blast. The latest special he put out is it's called I'll write it here in the comment section as well, so you know how to find it. It's on YouTube. You can also find it elsewhere. But if you're looking for some good old-fashioned fun, take a break from the hardcore politics. You want to see somebody do fully improvised stand-up, which is very rare. I know that, for those of you who don't know anything about stand-up, which is fine, not a lot of people really take their time learning the ins and outs of stand-up comedy, but, almost all of it is prepped. Even the comedians that look like they're doing crowd work, which has never been my thing. I'm more into material, knowing what I'm talking about. But even the comedians that look like they're doing crowd work, most of the stuff they're saying to the crowd has been done before in another crowd with another person. I'm not saying nothing's ad lib, but very little. I've seen comedians do so-called crowd work that is word for word the same every night, which seems amazing because it seems like they're asking somebody, what do you do for a living? And then the guy gives an answer and it's like, well, he must be making up this joke right now. But in fact, they have a joke for every career that guy could possibly say. And if they don't have one, then they'll go, well, that's not funny at all. So they have a tactic and they're doing kind of fake crowd work, which is fine. If that's your thing, then fucking make people laugh that way, do it. But however, what Rick does in this special is fully improvised. There's no prepping. He didn't know the topics and they're just thrown at him while he's on stage. So check it out if you're looking for a good time. And that's the show for today. If you donated, all the donations go to people who are struggling. And you can, if you're not watching this live, you can also donate on Venmo at Lee Camp. If you want to support my work, you can go to liberapay.com/Lee Camp, liberapay.com/Lee Camp. And what else? There's a new Government Secrets coming out. Check that out on your podcast platforms. There's a new Common Censor. There's a new Redacted Tonight about all the times the U.S. government has used bioweapons on us, on our own citizens. I'm not kidding. If you haven't learned this history, then you got to learn it. Go to leecamp.com. Watch the new episode of Redacted Tonight. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Keep fighting.